Hey guys, welcome back. My name is Joe Ellis. I'm a commercial wedding and portrait photographer here in Dallas, Texas, and today I want to go over my second kit of gear, and that's my light shaping kit. I love using light to craft photos and to add to a scene in a way that ambient light sometimes is very difficult to work with. As a wedding photographer, you run into all different kinds of scenarios, all different kinds of weather, and all different kinds of conditions in which you have to make a portrait or make an image. And so I want to have a kit of gear that gives me a great deal of flexibility and creativity, and where I'm not reliant on just the ambient light. And so here's what I carry with me on a day-to-day basis when I'm working on location. Now I have a studio downtown Dallas where I've got, multiple strobes and softboxes and all that kind of good stuff that I love, but it's just too much to carry that with me all the time, set it up, break it down during a wedding day. As you know, they can be really fast-paced events, and I need something that is kind of keep up with what I'm doing. So on the table in front of me I have most of this stuff. The first thing I want to do is just go over like what a basic kit would consist of if you're just getting started in off-camera flash, especially for weddings. So the first thing, of course, you're going to need is a flash, and so your basic on-camera flash is something like this. This is the Godox V86020. I've talked about this in another video, so if you're curious about this flash, look that one up. I may even try and get a link on the screen here for you, but these are powerful little units. You can gang them up and use more than one. They work over radio transmission. You can adapt them to different modifiers, and I find them to be super useful. So I usually carry 4 of these with me on a wedding day for use in off-camera lighting, for doing family groups, and then of course on-camera light. To pair that up though for portraiture, the cheapest thing you can do is to get a transmitter. And so this little unit here is brand new to me, or pretty new to me. This is the X Pro trigger from Godox, the X Pro O for Olympus. And of course, the only thing this little guy does is trigger off-camera flashes. You can control the power of the off-camera flash, you can put them in different groups, and all that kind of good stuff. And so it winds up being very, very helpful to work on location with this, because I can make adjustments to the lighting from my camera and not have to run around and make adjustments to each individual light. The other thing this unit has, just to tell you guys, is that in a surprise to me, there is a laser focus assist beam on this little unit right down here. And so if you turn it on and you turn the laser on, then you get a little red laser pattern that you can use to focus in the dark. Now it does not turn off. It's just on off via switch. It doesn't turn on and off because the camera is trying to focus and then not trying to focus. But it's still super helpful. And I love the interface of this unit in terms of the ease of use. You just hit one of these buttons here on the side, and then boom, to pick your group, and then change the power of that group or change the mode of that group. So that's the X Pro O trigger. Okay, so you've got yourself a flash and a trigger. Now, I think the most versatile, most useful lighting kit you can have is just a basic umbrella setup. And the reason that I would say that is that it's the easiest thing to carry around, break down, and then it's also super adaptable. You can use it for fill light, you can use it for main light, you can make it soft, you can make it hard. It's just a really, really useful piece of kit. And so there's a couple of other little pieces of gear that you're going to need to get this whole thing started. The first thing you're going to need is a light stand. If you've never seen a light stand, here you go. These come in all different price points and sizes and strengths. If you are a one-man band kind of running around, I would suggest something in the 8 to 13 foot range. There are heavy-duty stands like C stands and whatnot that are super heavy, which is useful in the sense that they won't blow over and they can hold more heavy modifiers and whatnot, but that's a lot to carry around with you when you're working on location. So I think one of these little stands is a great place to start. Just be aware that if you're in the wind, you're going to need a human sandbag to help you out, or you've got to pick a day there's absolutely no wind. If you're working inside, then you won't have this problem. But the problem is that an umbrella will blow over in the wind and your flash will go tumbling over with it. So be aware, make sure you have someone there to help you out. Okay, so you're going to need a light stand in addition to your flash and trigger. You're also going to need an umbrella. These are photo-specific umbrellas. This is the little 48-inch one. It's a great size. These cost like 10, 15, 20 bucks, I don't know. I have to replace them every now and again because they do tend to wear out, but awesome modifier. This is a shoot-through umbrella, so it's white, it's translucent. The flash will get pointed into the umbrella, and then the light you use from it is what comes out of the other side. There's also reflective umbrellas, which are black usually, and you fire the light into the umbrella, but the light you use from it is what's coming out the back side. So I prefer the shoot through for the main reason that you can actually get this really close to your subject, and that means you get much softer light when you need it. So shoot through umbrella, piece of cake. So you've got a light stand, you have an umbrella, you have a flash and a trigger. The only other thing you need is a way to mount it onto your flash onto the light stand and your umbrella onto the light stand. And so the the first piece of kit that most people get is just a basic umbrella adapter, and that looks just like this. Now, umbrella adapters like this one are super useful. I have a bunch of them, but I think the main limitation with this style of umbrella adapter is you can usually only fit one flash on top. But a couple basics here, just if you're first getting started on these. They have two sides. Let me just pull the stud and the plate off for a second. They have two sides. This side down here is the light stand side. This side up here is for the umbrella and the flash. You know the difference because the side for the flash and umbrella has the hole for the umbrella, so don't mount it upside down. This hole here that's in the side for the umbrella shaft, it's two directional, right? It's going downhill in the sense that it's the way it's milled out of this. And you want to make sure that your umbrella is pointed downhill, because if you do it the other way, then you have to tip this over further and further in order to get the light the direction that you want towards your subject. So make sure when you look at this that you identify which side is the lower side, and you have the umbrella point downhill. And then the only other thing that some people don't know about these is that this little arm right here, if you pull it away from here like this, you can actually rotate it in order to get bigger flex on or more tension on the swivel. So these are super useful. They come with a stud. They come with these little copper studs. And on one side it has a small, like a 1/4 thread, and then the larger thread on the other side. And what's nice about this is that this side would mount like some larger type units, or like is the right size for a tripod head, that kind of thing. And then this side is usually the side we use for all of our flash, feet and whatnot. This little guy here, this flash foot, comes with your flash usually. And so it's just a little plastic foot. The good ones have a metal thread in the bottom. The cheaper ones have plastic. Please, please, please go with the one with the metal thread, because the plastic ones will just crack and break on you. So you just screw that in there, and now you have a stud that will hold your flash unit, and you can put that on top of your light stand with your umbrella adapter. Now, that piece of kit is wonderful. If you want to step it up just one little bit, I find this one to be immensely more useful. This is I think it's Westcott who makes this one. I'll try and put a link in the description. This guy here not only holds your umbrella, but it holds up to 3 strobes. And so you can gang up your speed lights if you need more power. And so I tend to use at least 2 strobes in here when I'm working, so that my flashes are working half as hard as one strobe would have to be. I get much better flash recycle performance out of it, and I can use a larger modifier if I want to. So these triple footed umbrella adapters are super, super great. So a little bit more money, probably 60, 75 bucks for this guy versus $30-ish for a regular umbrella adapter. Also be aware that umbrella adapters do come in plastic, and I would really encourage you guys to avoid that mistake, because umbrella adapters, if you buy the metal ones like from Manfrotto, will last forever. Okay, so that's a super basic off-camera lighting kit. And from that you can replicate, you know, a softbox, you can get hard light, you can get backlight, you can do just 1,000 different things with your images with one off-camera light. And an umbrella will just allow you to make nice, soft images of your subjects, and it will look absolutely gorgeous. So if this is your first foray into off-camera lighting, that's the kit I would get first. Now let's talk about a couple of other things. One other piece of kit for off-camera lighting that I really love to have is a little softbox. And this one from F-Stoppers is my current favorite. I've had this for a while. This is their branded, their designed unit, and there are a lot of Chinese knockoffs now. But if you love F-Stoppers, maybe give them some love and buy theirs. So it folds up in this little tiny bag, and it's kind of based on a reflector design. But here's how it comes out, and then it just flips open. Yeah. So this is like a 12-inch softbox. You know, it's like a basic 1 foot circular softbox. And I love it because of how small it folds up, and you can actually hold it in your hand. But the way this works is that on one side here, there is a little a piece of strap right here, like a springy strap that you just put your flash in here. And now you've got your unit inside the softbox. And so you can actually hand hold this while you're working, or have an assistant hold it, or put it on a light stand. And you can get it super close so it's nice and soft. You can use more than one of these if you want different types of lighting. And it just kind of takes the edge off of bare flash if you use it nice and close. So love this unit. Also on the back side here you have some you know, different swatches for white balancing and, you know, that kind of thing if you're balancing your color out. So super useful little 12-inch softbox. This is called the F-Stoppers Flash Disc. So you can just fold it up like this, and then we'll go right back into the case right here. Okay, so those are the two main things that I use on location on a regular basis for location lighting, right? Now, what about on-camera light? Okay, on-camera light, what do I have? So there's two basic things that I use for well, maybe three. Let me see here. Okay, so for on-camera light, I like to bounce my light a lot off of walls and ceilings. And the main thing I use for that is just a simple bounce card, okay? And so this could be made out of absolutely anything, and I know there's lots of different brands. Probably my favorite right now that I haven't had a chance to purchase yet is a Rogue Flash Bender, but I've had these guys for years and they're nice and sturdy, so I just haven't, you know, felt the need. Now, you do have to go to Home Depot if you want to do this exactly the way that I've done it, and buy some Velcro, buy some heavy duty Velcro, and put it on both sides of your flash unit, right? And this is just for attaching modifiers. Take your bounce card and you just slap it on right there, and now you've got a really nice bounce. Now, the flash itself has a little bounce card in it, this little guy. Now the problem with this is this is just tiny. It's just, you're not creating a lot of area. And remember, the basic rule with flash is that the bigger the source of the light, the bigger the modifier, the softer it is. So while this may be the same size as the flash head, this guy here is like, you know, 4 or 5, 6 times as large. So that means it's quite a bit softer, especially when used in close. So I like these guys. Now, I don't tend to use it, oops, like this very often. I think it's kind of harsh. It works for like grip and grin photos of people smiling, that kind of thing. And in a pinch, if that's all you got, sure. But what I prefer to do is actually bounce it over my shoulder. And so I'll actually turn it just as it is, and I'll point it like this. And a lot of people think I'm crazy because they don't see any light coming towards them. But what this does is it forces all the light to the back wall, to the ceiling, and then back to the subject. And by making the light travel that far and come back, it winds up being a lot softer. Sorry for the Velcro noises. So if you're working in a room that has any kind of neutral covered walls or ceilings, that will give you the softest imaginable light. Now if you want a lot more about that, I'll put a link to someone who's been doing this extensively and even selling or giving tutorials away on how to make something called a black foam thingy. His name is Neil Van Niekerk, and he's an amazing photographer, and he definitely helped pioneer some of this in terms of teaching people how to do this. But suffice to say, if you point the flash away and keep any light from hitting anything close to you, by making it travel further and come back, it gets softer and softer. Okay, so that's off camera. I also carry like these little Stoffen guys. They're fine, they're not my favorite. They will spread the light everywhere. The problem with these most of the time, I find, is that I don't really want the light going in every single direction. I would rather have a little bit more control. So this thing will spread light, scatter light everywhere, and sometimes that's what you want. So this is the perfect thing. It's also super easy and durable, so I definitely see a lot of photographers using these, and of course these just mount to the top of your flash. And you know, certainly people have used them to great effect. I just prefer a little bit more sculpted light, a little bit more directional light, so I tend to avoid using these whenever I can. Okay, so those are my on-camera flashes. And to mount those in different places, I do use the light stands, of course. The other thing I will occasionally use is I will use one of these grips from Manfrotto as well. And these clamps here, these super clamps can just go onto any kind of pole and will attach, and then you can take your stud and you can put them in here and you can attach them that way. So if I'm in a room where the band has got some rigging or whatnot and I can attach it to that, I will do that because it keeps the light stands off the floor and keeps me from having to worry about those getting knocked over. Okay, another piece of kit that I've recently picked up that I think is super fun is this YN360. And so this is a video light that has a ton of tricks up its sleeve. Not only can you balance it for daylight or tungsten, but it's also an RGB light. So you can make it red, green, or blue and dial in any hue that you want with an app on your phone, believe it or not, because it's Bluetooth enabled. But what I love about this light is that not only are these batteries super long lasting and all that, but the size of this, with this being a tube like this, actually kind of mimics a very soft light. It actually does help wrap around a subject because of its size. So you just punch it, turn it on, just like that. And I've been using those a lot for couples portraits and things at night. And I'll tell you the one really huge advantage to video lights, and I've used various video lights for years. The main advantage in my mind to using video lights is that you can not only see where the shadows are falling, but when you put light on your subject that way, it gives the camera something to grab onto. So if you're working in a super low light environment, like out in the dark or something like that, like a week ago I was definitely doing this, without some kind of assist light coming on to help the camera focus, it was just not enough light to get critical focus on them. So using a video light instead of a flash gave me the opportunity to get that pin sharp focus. Okay, what else is in my bag? Gaffers tape, photographer's tape. This just comes in super handy. My main tip for this is that I tend to pull strips of this off and attach it to the inside lid of my camera bag so that I don't have to carry a roll of it around with me. But if I need a little gaff tape to rig something up, then I've got it with me. And then two more things. If you don't have a reflector kit, this is a 6-in-1 reflector kit from Westcott. Definitely want to pick one of these up. It's a very inexpensive thing to have as a part of your arsenal, and a reflector can do 100 different things for you. Now I'll tell you my top tips for reflectors are, my favorite part of the reflector kit is actually the translucent panel. So that's not silver, not black, not gold, just straight, sort of like a shoot-through umbrella. It's just a piece of translucent material. If you use that to bounce light onto somebody, it winds up being softer than if you use the silver by a huge margin. You can also use it to create a cloud. So you just put it over something that's bothering you and it will block sunlight and filter through something that's a lot softer. And then the third way you can use it is if you have an assistant, you can hold the reflector and you can push a flash through it, and that will make it act like a softbox. So that's my favorite one of the reflectors that's in there. And then, okay, last but not least, if you're a wedding photographer or an event photographer like I am, occasionally you are stuck in a situation where you need a lot of power. And I find that having a large strobe really helps with that. And so if I'm in a situation where I know that I'm going to be working in like noonday sun, or I have to light a really large group or something like that, then I want a monolight for that reason. Now since I adopted the Godox units, would love to move to their monoblock. I haven't done that yet because my current solution works so well and I don't use it all that often, so it's not on the top of my list for upgrading. But in my studio downtown and then on location, I have a bunch of these Paul C. Buff Einstein lights. These are amazing model lights that I love using in the studio, and you can use them of course on location as well. These units are like 500 watt seconds, and they pump out a ton of beautiful light when you need it. And so I will carry that in my truck, and then if I need it, I'll pull it out and I will use it for getting a lot of light on something. This light also requires you to have a battery. So I have a battery for it that attaches to my light stand, and then you have to run a cord up to the unit. The Godox system and the Pro Photo systems, they have batteries built into their heads, so you don't have to have that separate box and cord coming down. And then of course to trigger these, you're going to need radio transmitters and receivers for this system as well, since it's not part of Godox. And that's one of the main reasons why I like to upgrade to the Godox units, is because it will use the exact same trigger for all of the lights. So maybe in the near future, who knows. But that's the basics of my lighting kit, you guys. You know, in future videos, I would love to do tutorials on how I use this stuff in the field, but I want to give you guys a feeling for what's in my kit. I almost feel like this kit of stuff is more important than the cameras, in the sense that you know, this is really where the rubber meets the road in terms of style and capabilities as a photographer. So thanks for watching. Hit me up with questions in the comments, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Oh, don't forget to subscribe, notifications, bell, all that kind of good stuff. And of course, find me online. Social media is Joseph Mark Photo, and that's on Facebook and on Instagram, JOSEPHMARK PHOTO. And then of course my website for wedding work is just josephmark.com. Thanks you guys, talk to you soon, bye.